It's Wednesday, June 3rd. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Emergency crews answer 5 times the average number of overdose calls in Moncton. What was behind a drop in home sales and listings in Halifax last month?
Warm for much of the Maritimes tomorrow, with some areas feeling some early June heat.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. This was a day like no other for emergency crews in Moncton. By mid-afternoon, the fire department had answered 23 overdose calls. Now, the daily average is 5. Street drugs laced with toxic ingredients are creating a dangerous situation in the hub city and beyond. CTV's Derek Haggett reports.
Ambulance New Brunswick's 911 dispatch team received 40 overdose-related calls from Monday morning until noon today. It was 65 calls over the weekend. The Moncton Fire Department responded to 23 overdose calls in an 8-hour period today. Lately, 5 has been the average for a full day.
That is an extraordinary amount.
Over the past few days, crews have been attending to one person while others have dropped to the ground right in front of them.
And while they're there, they actually get on the radio and call out to fire control, which is our dispatch center, and say we're going to either need some more help or else just want to make you aware that we've just had 2 more people that have dropped while we're dealing with this one patient that's having an overdose.
It's been extraordinarily busy for the YMCA outreach program, too.
Since Friday morning, my team alone, so that's just my outreach team that operates 24/7, have responded to 40 plus overdoses.
It's having a deep impact on the homeless community and their loved ones.
Not to mention our staff on the ground who are responding to these and saving lives, what feels like every couple of minutes right now, who we're feeling it too.
The RCMP did respond to some overdose-related calls over the weekend. It is important to note that overdose calls are, by nature, medical emergencies and do not necessarily involve criminal activity. As such, police may not attend every incident if there is no indication of a crime. One man says he overdosed 3 times over the weekend.
Yeah, as soon as you choke it, you instantly knew right away. We want this stuff off the streets. We don't want any more of it here.
Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Now, we'll speak with someone in the middle of that overdose crisis about what she's seeing, and there's more reporting at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. 2 people have been arrested following a deadly stabbing in the Whitney Pier area of Sydney. This happened this morning. Officers found a male with stab wounds on Frederick Street just before noon. He was taken to hospital and later died. A suspect vehicle was seen leaving the scene. Several RCMP detachments joined the search for the vehicle. It was stopped near Orangedale, where 2 men were arrested. The Major Crime Unit is continuing to investigate. The identity of the victim has not been released. Will it be one location or a few? That's a decision Halifax's police board will have to make about new headquarters for the force, which has long outgrown its current downtown building. As CTV's Callum Smith explains, the potential price tag worries at least one city councillor.
Where will Police Chief Don McLean and his officers be years down the road? That's to be determined. A Winnipeg firm is studying 3 potential areas for a new police headquarters. A drafted needs assessment is due later this month. Already $1.7 million has been approved. $750,000 is for repairs to the existing building. But the total project cost is estimated at $180 million.
The more time we take to get a shovel to the ground, the more that price tag goes up.
There are various options whether a headquarters would be an all-encompassing one-stop shop or if, for example, training and certain units would be elsewhere. The current Gottingen Street headquarters was built in 1975.
When the size of the Halifax region, what was then Halifax Police before amalgamation, was significantly smaller, our population keeps, and we're going to have to build a building actually that can serve the public well into, well, this building lasted 50 years.
Aside from rebuilding on the current Goddison Street location with another building at the neighboring Centennial Pool site, locations in Cowie Hill and Burnside are also being studied. The chief says most municipal police headquarters in Canada are located in the city's core.
The simple reality is, for the sake of public safety and the people that work there and the people that we serve, a new headquarters is not a nicety, it's a necessity.
Councillor Tony Mancini agrees, but expects problems when the cost comes to council.
We need to look at ways to knock that $180 million down. I think that's really what our job is. How do we do that? How do we still provide the capital project that's needed, but really look at costs heavily.
He suggested funding help from other levels of government and potentially sharing training spaces with other first responders as two options. But other satellite HRP locations need work too, and Mancini says the city's infrastructure needs list is growing.
We need it all done, but the bank account is only so full.
As it stands now, design work would begin in 2030. Callum Smith, CTV News, Dartmouth.
When hundreds of angry farmers leave their fields in spring and show up at your front door, well, you know you've got a problem. And farmers went to the New Brunswick legislature to protest the government's plan to privatize vet services today. CTV's Nick Moore reports.
Angry farmers took over downtown Fredericton today, and they brought their tractors too. A parade of farm equipment led to the lawn of the legislature, where over 300 people gathered to protest the Liberal government's decision to privatize provincial veterinary services for large animals.
I'm a vegan, and I'm standing with farmers. I'm a Liberal, and I'm standing with Conservatives. But I believe that everyone here cares about animal health and they care about animal well-being, and that's really what matters.
The changes outlined in the provincial budget in March are meant to save $4 million annually against a $1.4 billion deficit. The plan also includes a feasibility study on the future of the provincially run laboratory, where animals are monitored and studied for diseases.
It really is all about the food we eat and the diseases that come into the province on little animals like raccoons.
Inside the legislature, the topic dominated question period.
The Holt government, in its arrogance and political calculations, feel they can get away with this because farmers only represent a small portion of the vote in this province.
We will look after the food security of this province, and we will make sure that the veterinary services that have struggled under the previous government will be strong and supported.
Back out on the lawn, farmers were told not to bring any of their livestock, so some people got creative. The province argues New Brunswick is one of only 2 Canadian provinces that still operate government-funded veterinary services, the other being Newfoundland and Labrador.
But other provinces that have private large animal vet care struggle with their rural areas.
I think this is another example of the urban-rural divide, people not understanding that our essential services in the province exist rurally.
The provincial government plans to make these changes by next spring. So it is quiet here at the legislature tonight, and daily sittings are scheduled to wrap up next week, but farmers and their supporters say that they won't be backing down from their fight and that the provincial government should be expecting to hear more from them throughout the summer. Todd.
All right, next, CTV's Nick Moore in Fredericton. There's a beautiful live shot right now of Yarmouth, where it's currently 13 degrees under blue skies. Let's bring in CTV meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell for our first look at the weather, and that was pretty much the story around the region today.
It certainly was. We noticed the temperature at Yarmouth, 13 degrees, certainly more moderate than other parts of the Maritimes at this hour, and there's going to be a couple of areas, more moderate temperatures for tomorrow as well, mostly due to a wind coming in off of ocean waters, and once again, that will be parts of the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia and parts of the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick. Speaking of New Brunswick, though, just a moment ago, Edmundston was reporting a temperature near 28 degrees, pretty close to being one of the hottest temperatures in the country so far for today. So far, the hottest has been at Kapuskasing in Ontario, touching on 30 degrees there. In Prince Edward Island, temperatures right now between around 14 and 16 degrees. Stepping out your door in Sydney, temperatures around 14, 18 at Truro, and still holding on to around 20 degrees in the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia. Winds out of the south and southwest forecast for this evening and tonight, and that's going to be the continued direction of those winds for tomorrow. They're expected to pick up to be a little bit breezier for Thursday afternoon. Conditions for this evening, clear, and that's expected to continue through tonight as this area of high pressure remains in place. Temperatures will be cooling off, but it won't be as chilly or brisk as previous nights. And of course, with a clear sky, it makes for pretty ideal night sky viewing conditions. There's a couple things you can see. Well, you won't be seeing much of the moon until after midnight. That's when it begins to rise above the southeastern horizon. But it is a waning gibbous moon, 90% illuminated. Planets Venus and Jupiter still very close together, viewable as a pair above the western horizon after sunset. And if you find that pair of planets at about 10 p.m., and again, that's above the western horizon, you look north of them, you'll be able to find the asterism, the Big Dipper. So a couple things to check out in that very clear sky that we're going to have for the region tonight, Todd.
All right, the Big Dipper. We'll look for that. Thank you, Kaylin. We'll see you later in the show. New Brunswick's public advocate says the death of an elderly woman with dementia was a result of systemic failures in the provincial social welfare system. A new report says she repeatedly wandered away from her care facility and waited almost a year for a higher level of care after officials determined it was needed. The woman was found unresponsive after walking out of the facility for the 12th time. The most recent real estate numbers show how Nova Scotia's housing market is cooling slightly. Fewer homes are selling, fewer are being listed. But as CTV's Hafsa Arif tells us, prices, they continue to climb.
Across Halifax and Dartmouth, the spring market is moving, just not as quickly as last year. Home sales dipped 5% last month, while new listings also fell.
Halifax definitely has seen the major increase over the years, but it really has just brought it up to what I think is a fairly fair standard across Canada. It was undervalued before.
Despite the slowdown, prices are still edging higher. The average home in Nova Scotia now sells for just under $500,000.
Still a relatively healthy market in Nova Scotia. The prices are up by about 1%, even though the home sales and the new listings are down 5%.
While Halifax remains steady, outside the city, realtors say uncertainty is keeping some buyers on the fence.
Market was a little softer this spring than we were anticipating, but as time goes on, we're very optimistic for a strong summer market on its way.
Economic concerns and tensions south of the border are adding to the hesitation.
Those issues are top of mind for a lot of people, and that's creating a lot of people's uncertainty whether they should move forward with purchasing or selling their property.
With summer traditionally bringing more closings, industry experts say this slower spring may only be a pause and not a trend.
Buyers looking now are looking to make the change for the summertime, so that's when the actual closings happen.
For now, Nova Scotia's housing market sits somewhere in the middle. Fewer sales, modest price growth, and buyers taking their time before making a move. Todd?
CTV's Hafsa Arif in Halifax. Nominations for Nova Scotia's new riding of Cheticamp Margarie's Pleasant Bay by-election are now closed. The Electoral Boundary Commission recommended the creation of the new riding to recognize the Acadian communities in that area of Cape Breton. Early voting was done using write-in ballots. With nominations now closed, voting is shifting to e-ballots.
E-ballot is our in-person electronic voting system, and it's been used in the last provincial general election and in 2 previous by-elections. So it is electronic voting, but it's done in person at the voting location on a secure tablet.
Election day for the new riding is Tuesday, June 23rd. Voting will close at 8 o'clock that night. Naomi Shelton of Elections NS figures the MLA for the new riding of close to 4,000 registered voters will be announced by midnight that night. Accessing childcare in Nova Scotia remains a challenge for many families. With no centralized wait list, parents sign up with multiple daycares and hope for a call. The wait can be months, even years, but the province insists that's about to change. Here's CTV's Jesse Thomas.
The YWCA of Halifax has a wait list of more than 600 children, the majority of them infants. Its CEO calls the current process for finding childcare as the Wild West, arguing a centralized provincial wait list should have been the first step in the government's childcare transformation.
Of the 600 we have no idea how many of those families have already received care, are on multiple wait lists. And so for us, from a very logic perspective, this should have been step one.
Without data showing who is waiting for childcare and where, operators say it's difficult to plan where they need to grow or expand spaces.
And without the data and the waitlist management system, we have not been able to make thoughtful planning processes. And providers are left to trust that there's going to be demand.
The province says a centralized wait list is coming. More than $8 million is budgeted for the digital hub, which they expect to be up and running by 2028.
So there's a number of modules that will be included there: registration of service providers, registration of families, a single identifier for children, a portal for submission of required documents, and we'll have the capacity to do a wait list.
Since overhauling the childcare system in 2021, the province has been focused on growing the workforce and spaces while making it more affordable. Although they haven't met the $10 a day target, they will have created nearly 10,500 new childcare spaces by 2027.
Some jurisdictions have made it to $10 a day on average by prioritizing lowering fees. Others, like us, have focused on space creation and workforce support.
The average cost right now for a toddler is around $18.60 per day. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
We've become accustomed to seeing cruise ships tied up in maritime cities, but there's a small port welcoming several vessels this season where the number of passengers will outnumber the locals, and that offers big opportunities for the community. CTV's Brian McDonald takes us there.
When 21st century luxury is docked in the shadow of the 18th century fortress, it usually means good things for the people here in Louisbourg.
So you tend to get a few people stopping in, and it does make the town a little bit busier.
That's needed these days. In recent years, the streets have often been empty in what was once one of Nova Scotia's busiest tourist towns. Later this summer, 9 cruise ships are scheduled to visit Louisbourg. At this cafe along the main street, there is cautious optimism that those could be busy days.
It's always great for any effort that's if the town is even thought of. But we look at other years where it was always so much busier.
I think that's a great diversification of the tourism product.
Dalhousie University professor Lorne Sheehan says going to smaller ports of call like Louisbourg, especially those with an iconic experience like the famous fortress, is something he sees as a unique draw for cruise lines and their customers, and that it's up to the community to capitalize on all those visitors.
So that there would be other things for people to spend their money on, especially when those businesses that could be part of that would be locally owned and bring benefits to local people in the area.
The 9 cruise ships that are scheduled to arrive here in Louisbourg for the 2026 season are set to arrive here between August 26th and October the 15th, which is typically peak season for most ports of call here in the Maritimes. Back at her cafe and restaurant as they get ready to open for the season this coming weekend, this business owner says they also look forward to some traffic from ships that visit Sydney, though previous experience has taught them that they are often at the mercy of the weather.
If the wind is up, then the cruise ships don't even get in. So what may start out as 9 may end up as 3 coming into town, or 4.
For now, it's a community that still has to wait roughly 2.5 months for its ship to come in. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Louisbourg, Nova Scotia.
Well, it's too bad they're not coming in the next day or so, because the weather is warming up and feeling a lot more like June. We'll have the details in the full forecast. But before that, we'll get an update on the war with Iran.
Pictures of damage emerging today after a wave of strikes from Iran in the U.S. It all comes amid fraught negotiations. What leaders are saying? I'm Olivia Rubin with those details coming up.
The This is your Campfire Conditions Report brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. Restrictions are valid until 2 p.m. on June 4th. And parts of the north of New Brunswick are still closed to campfires. That includes the counties of Gloucester, Resticouche, Madawaska, as well as Victoria County. Much of the remainder of New Brunswick, campfires are permitted between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., except for some counties which are open in the south and southeast. For the province of Nova Scotia, areas in the central and southwestern parts of the province are restricted to the hours of 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. for campfires, whereas parts of the north and east of Nova Scotia, campfires are permitted between 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. And in Prince Edward Island right now, campfires are permitted, with domestic brush burning restricted to the hours of 2 p.m. to 8 a.m. Remember, as well as checking in on these provincial restrictions, to check in on any municipal restrictions and bylaws.
Today, Iran launched attacks against U.S. forces in Kuwait's international airport, saying the strikes are in self-defense. U.S. Central Command said the American military shot down multiple drones from Iran. ABC's Olivia Rubin has the latest.
Today, the stunning images from an airport in Kuwait after a barrage of Iranian attacks. This video circulating online showing the destruction, a large fire burning, dust and debris all around, a gaping hole now in the ceiling. According to Kuwait's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, one person was killed and dozens more injured. The strike's part of Iran's barrage targeting U.S. military bases in Bahrain and Kuwait. The Iranian military releasing this video claiming to show the strikes. But the U.S. saying those strikes didn't hit the targets, and in its own strikes, blasting an empty oil tanker the U.S. says violated the blockade on Iranian ports. Despite the firing back on Capitol Hill, Secretary of State Marco Rubio insisting the U.S. strikes have been defensive and claiming the war is over.
We're no longer conducting sustained strikes inside of Iran to degrade their military because epic fury is over.
But so far, there has been no deal to end the war or reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The unrest sending the price of oil higher again today. According to Gas Buddy, the average price for a gallon of regular gas now $4.22. And regarding the current plan on the table with Iran, Rubio saying that as of this morning, there's no final sign-off from Iran. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with a seemingly different message from the White House, saying, quote, "It's not over, that the Iranian regime is weakened but not destroyed." Olivia Rubin, ABC News, Washington.
If you live along the coast and you find it chilly, head inland tomorrow. That's where the heat is going to be. Caleb Mitchell will have the details in his full forecast after this. We're still in the middle of lobster fishing season in Cape Breton. This beautiful drone shot off Victoria Mines today, seeing one crew still hard at it, and they certainly had pleasant weather to make the rounds killing.
I was about to say, that looks like pretty ideal fishing weather to me. Yeah. No surprise there with this area of high pressure moving in. Our weather was really calmed down around the maritime region. More sunshine in the forecast for tomorrow. Just a little bit of a breezy wind, but we'll be happy to have that because in some areas, Todd, the temperatures are going to be soaring towards the low 30s, which is above average for early June. Let's take a quick look at temperatures across the country before we get back into that forecast for the Maritimes. So beginning out west, a little bit of some rain and some showers making their way through parts of the south coast of BC. Vancouver right now sitting at 21 degrees. Victoria sitting at 20. Prince George at 23. Fort St. John a little bit cooler at 16 degrees. Temperatures have cooled through parts of the prairies as well. 16 at Calgary and 17 in Saskatoon. In Manitoba, still risk of some thunderstorms in southern parts of that province after they had some severe thunderstorms, one accompanied by a tornado warning yesterday. Winnipeg sitting at 23 degrees. The heat has shifted a little bit further towards the east. It's sort of centered around parts of southern Ontario and into southern Quebec. We got Toronto at 29 degrees. Same thing goes for Montreal. Quebec City sitting at 27, and Fredericton starting to feel some of that warmth sitting at 25. Temperatures a little bit more moderate. Halifax and Charlottetown right around the mid-teens, and then St. John's sitting at 13 degrees. Taking a look at cloud cover and precipitation with high pressure in place for tonight. It is going to be a mainly clear sky. That does mean a sunny start to the day on Thursday. Sunshine into and through the afternoon. Maybe a little bit of high cloud cover moving into parts of the north of New Brunswick, but not expecting any precipitation out of that. Looking at fairly clear conditions Thursday evening and Thursday night. And Friday for the Maritimes, a bit more of a mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures coming down a couple of degrees from Thursday in a lot of cases, just because there will be a little bit more cloud cover around. Winds for tonight and for tomorrow will be mostly out of the south and southwest. There's a breeze that I was talking about for Thursday afternoon. Some of the wind gusts coming up between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour directly on the Atlantic coastline in Nova Scotia. Say if you were out at Peggy's Cove, for example, maybe some of those peak wind gusts closer to 50. Taking a look at low temperatures in the forecast for tonight for the province of New Brunswick. They will be mostly falling into range around 8 to 12 degrees. Down to around 11 for Charlottetown and Summerside for tonight. And for Nova Scotia, most of the low temperatures between 7 and 11 degrees, 12 at Digby. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick. There we go. There's some high 20s and low 30s, including 31. Campbellton tomorrow, Bathurst and Miramichi, 28 degrees at Grand Falls. Fredericton tomorrow, the high temperature near 30 degrees. Same thing goes for McAdam. And then it cools down around the Bay of Fundy coastline. Temperatures a little bit more moderate, mostly between 18 and 22. Moncton in the southeast, though, hot day, high temperature near 29. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow, quite warm. Most high temperatures away from the coast will be in the mid-20s, directly on the coastline. High temperatures mostly between 18 and 22. Got 25 there for Charlottetown and 25 for Summerside. In the east of Nova Scotia for tomorrow, very sunny, warm day. It could even be described as hot around parts of the north shore of the mainland. New Glasgow and Antigonish, highs closer to 27. As you move towards the Atlantic coastline, though, you come into more of that influence, that southwest wind coming in off those Atlantic Ocean waters, and that's why those really near coastal communities could have some high temperatures held between around 18 and 22. 23 for the city centers, Halifax and Dartmouth for tomorrow. Hotter at Truro, closer to 27, 24 for Amherst. It'll be hotter as well in the Annapolis Valley with highs near 28 degrees. And then on the south shore of Nova Scotia, 23 for Liverpool and Shelburne, 17 for Yarmouth and Barrington. Taking a look at the extended forecast, mentioned temperatures come down a couple degrees for New Brunswick on Friday, the mix of sun and cloud, and then it cools off a little bit more on the weekend with showers arriving in New Brunswick on Saturday, and that system may finish with a little bit of rain Sunday morning before it clears out. After that, though, through the start of next week, it's back to sunshine and a rising trend in temperatures. In the outlook for Nova Scotia, it's a mix of sun and cloud on Friday. On Saturday, increasing cloudiness, low chance of a shower during the day, but some rain and some showers will be arriving Saturday night and around for Sunday, and that cools temperatures on Sunday down to around the low to mid-teens. After that, though, back to sunshine and high temperatures coming back up to the 20s Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. For Prince Edward Island, mix of sun and cloud on Friday, cools in a northeast wind, high near 16 degrees. Some showers expected to arrive Saturday afternoon and then be around for Saturday night, clearing out on Sunday, and then in behind that back to sunshine Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Temperatures headed up. Todd.
All right, thanks, Kalen. We'll see you at the end of the show. Next, we'll talk about the dangerous drug hitting maritime streets and driving up overdoses. Stay with us.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow. The Virgin Radio Vault, your chance to win a prize from Kent. Get that clue coming up at 7:10.
And join us around 7:30 for your chance at a $100 gas card.
Welcome back. Earlier in the show, we reported on the rise of overdoses in Moncton. The fire department there saying that they responded to 23 overdose calls between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The average is 5. That city in particular, but others in the region, Fredericton, Halifax, Cumberland County as well, are spotting more toxic drugs on the streets. The result is creating more emergencies. Our guest tonight sees it firsthand. Hannah Lapointe is Vice President of Community Development at the YMCA of Greater Moncton. It's nice to see you, and I can only imagine how busy you've been.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of days around here, taking a lot of a toll on folks, but sticking it out, and we'll be there to help.
You operate a facility where people who frequently are using drugs will come and see you. What are you seeing? What are these individuals telling you about things lately?
Yeah, so I think right now what we're seeing is a large increase, as you mentioned in the intro, in overdoses coming into our areas and into our facilities that staff have to respond to. Since Friday morning, my team alone, so that's just my outreach team that operates 24/7, have responded to 40 plus overdoses just since Friday morning. And on an average day, we probably have 1 to 2 a day. So everybody's feeling it. You know, our members, our folks experiencing homelessness or that utilize substances are feeling the impact. Obviously, it could be themselves, it could be their friends, it could be their family, and then not to mention our staff on the ground who are responding to these and saving lives. What feels like every couple of minutes right now, who are feeling it too.
Let me ask you a very basic question. What is an overdose? And is everyone potentially fatal?
Yeah. So an overdose is simply put an overconsumption of substances, right? You can overdose from anything from Tylenol to fentanyl, right? It just depends on how much you're taking of whatever substance you're utilizing. And they're not always fatal. Obviously, if you are overdosing on substances, there's always the chance of fatality. But thankfully, we have the ability to utilize naloxone to reverse a lot of the effects of those. But I think sometimes people think that, you spray one nasal spray of naloxone and all of a sudden the person comes to. Whereas we know that's not the case, right? Depending on the potency of the drug, depending on the person's tolerance, whatever it might be, it can take up to 3, 4, 5, 6. We're seeing as high as 7 injections to kind of get someone out of that overdose right now. 7 to come out of an overdose. Depending on the individual, yeah, we're seeing that.
We have been reporting that drugs are being laced with something. Can you tell us a bit about the makeup of these drugs that you're seeing?
Yeah, obviously I can't say for certain. What we know right now is that it's not a typical drug supply that we're seeing. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the alarming rates that we do. We've heard the same kind of thing going around, that it could be laced with tranquilizers and stuff like that. I myself don't have any way of confirming this, obviously, but we know that it's not normal. We know that this is not the typical supply that the folks that we work with every single day, who typically, they use substances every day, and maybe they have never or rarely experienced an overdose, and all of a sudden it's happening to them too, right? So it's definitely abnormal, and there's definitely something off right now.
And do you have any idea where it's coming from?
Unfortunately not. That's one of those things that I wish we had a little more info on, right? Maybe we could get a little bit ahead of the situation if we did, but we're all just kind of crossing our fingers that whatever it is gets through the community soon.
Are we at the epidemic phase?
If you asked me that about the last 7 days specifically, absolutely. I think, like I said, we don't have, as a community, we don't have the resources to react or respond accordingly to situations like what we've seen. Staff are overrun, staff are overworked. Everybody, like I said, from my outreach team to first responders are feeling the effects. And right now the concern really for myself is on my team, and grateful for them showing up day in and day out and putting their best foot forward and wanting to help individuals. And that's why they're in this field, because they're incredible human beings. But then you get to a point where we got to make sure that we're able to take care of them, and they can take care of themselves too.
The chief of the fire department worries about compassion fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have that same concern? And maybe you can explain what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So compassion fatigue is really when, those of us who work in helping professions or caring professions, we are by nature, most of us are compassionate and empathetic individuals. And the concern with compassion fatigue is that you care so deeply for help, for the people you're trying to help, and you spend so much time helping that you forget to take care of yourself. and you forget to help yourself in the process. And so the concern really is if you can't also take care of yourself, your ability to be compassionate for others will also dwindle. And the last thing we want to see is that staff from any field that is responding in this crisis right now gets to a point where they can no longer respond to the best of their abilities because they themselves are struggling because of what they're seeing all the time.
A couple of days ago, new mayor, city council was sworn in. What would you tell them? What do they need to do? What has to happen to turn this around?
Yeah, I think we all have to keep working together. You know, one of the things I'm really grateful for here in Moncton is that we do have an incredible coordinated access team who are working hard to address homelessness and substance use in our city and making sure that these individuals are not just looked at as statistics, but people know that they're people with stories, and they're someone's sibling or child or aunt or uncle or whatever it might be. You know, these are people that are loved and that are cared for. I think as a city we do a really good job of coming together in times like this and trying to figure out what is the best solution to keep everybody safe and get through the hard times and have a better plan moving forward. And I have no doubts that that'll be what continues to come out of this.
Hannah Lapointe at the Greater Moncton YMCA, thank you very much for sharing some of your experiences. Certainly we appreciate the work you do, and we will be talking to you, no doubt.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more. In medical news, one Canadian pancreatic cancer specialist says trials of a pill that could extend life expectancy in patients is on the way. CTV's Amanda Debison has details in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
The head of pancreatic cancer at Princess Margaret Cancer Centre says she hopes clinical trials for a pill that could double survival time will soon be open to Canadian patients.
Medical oncologist Dr. Jennifer Knox independently reviewed a U.S.-led study of the experimental drug and calls the results amazing. The randomized phase 3 clinical trial of 500 pancreatic cancer patients found those who took the daily pill survived for more than a year, compared to just over 6 months for patients who had chemotherapy alone. Knox says she plans to open clinical trials so as many patients as possible with pancreatic cancer can get the experimental drug without waiting for it to be licensed. A Quebec research team has identified something that could halt the paralysis caused by ALS. The neurodegenerative disease, sometimes known as Lou Gehrig's disease, attacks the neurons controlling movement, leading to rapid paralysis. Most other research has centered on the motor regions of the brain, but the Montreal team chose to focus instead on the cerebellum, associated with balance and coordination. Research conducted on zebrafish found the disease may begin outside the brain's motor regions before the first visible symptoms appear, which could eventually lead to earlier diagnosis and better treatment. Finally, researchers at the University of Manitoba are hoping to make it easier for people to be diagnosed with sleep apnea. Their work involves a device which maps a person's airways using a microphone on the neck and a small speaker in the mouth. The project is still in the research phase, but eventually it aims to bring a product to market which could be used in 4 minutes by any nurse or physician.
We moved to not only screen sleep apnea, but also we are claiming that we can identify the pathology of the sleep apnea, what contributes to the cause of sleep apnea, because that can shape the strategy of the treatment.
Sleep apnea affects about 1 in 5 Canadian adults and is more common as people age and the muscles in the throat begin to atrophy. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
We're on the scene and a flashback to the 90s with a preview of a new rom-com starring Jennifer Lopez. As CNN's David Daniel tells us, Lopez's new movie shows that dating in the workplace can be tricky.
You're the new lawyer?
I am he, Daniel Lansflower.
Jennifer Lopez and Brett Goldstein find themselves involved in an office romance.
There is someone I like. It's my boss. She's dynamic. She's incredible.
This is not a date. This is a work dinner.
Cheers.
She's not sure about it, but not for long.
Want to have dinner?
Yes.
Goldstein wrote the script with Lopez in mind, but says he wasn't sure about acting opposite the superstar.
The first scene where I meet her, I'm nervous. So it was the easiest acting job. That first scene, I'm glad we shot it in order, because that first scene is just me seeing her in real life.
Good day, Jackie. Miss Cruz.
Jackie's fine. Everybody calls me Jackie.
Bye, Jackie. Bye, Jackie. Bye, Jackie. I have never called her Jackie before.
She's kind of misunderstood, and people think she's like intimidating, and she is a strong, powerful woman, but she's also like fun and goofy and very sweet.
You two having sex with Jackie?
From day one that we were filming, we were all like, oh my God, this is going to be so good, because they have that inexplicable thing.
They were always laughing. I mean, they were just, you'd walk in on them doing a scene and they're just like hanging out, chit-chatting. I mean, they just got along. It was so easy.
Do you believe in magic?
Honestly, since I first walked into your office, I believe in everything.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
With Aaron and Peter.
Move family, make plans to spend every morning with us from 5:30 to 10.
We promise to start your day with a smile and feeling great about what's ahead.
On the markets, this was a tough day for the Dow Jones. It closed down 620 points. Home sales in Canada's largest real estate market doing exactly the opposite of what Hafsa Arif told us about for Nova Scotia. In that market, it jumped the most in 10 months as prices drop. Totally different than Nova Scotia. Let's get the details from B&M Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya.
In Toronto, it appears lower prices have begun to lure potential buyers off the sidelines. Home sales were up 10% in May compared to April, as the city's real estate board says the market tightened. The seasonally adjusted benchmark price of a home dropped 0.2% from the previous month to just under $928,000. And Trub expects sales to improve even more through the second half of the year. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 71.96. West Texas Intermediate is up to 96.02. Western Canadian Select also up to 76.72. And the TSX closed 360 points lower today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
All right, Kaylin's on the deck. Still got the jacket on.
Yeah, it's just a little bit cool out here, but otherwise we're looking at very clear conditions. It's a nice blue, sunny sky right now above me. There's more sunshine coming up in the forecast for tomorrow. Let's take a look at a viewer picture for tonight, though. And our picture for tonight is coming in from Colin and Donna Tower from Pokalogan, New Brunswick. It's a nighttime picture. We can see 2 points of light here. One is easy to identify. That's the moon coming up. That's the moon in the sky. And the other point is Point Lepreau power station. So I want to thank Colin and Donna Tower very much for sharing that picture. Pokalogan for tomorrow, sunny. Temperatures a little bit more moderate, near 20 degrees, because that southerly wind is coming in off of the Bay of Fundy waters. Other parts of New Brunswick, though, are going to be hotter than that for tomorrow, which takes us to our day planner. Start of the day, a lot of temperatures will be around the high single digits and low teens. Lots of sunshine in the morning. That continues into and through the afternoon. A lot of high temperatures away from coastal areas tomorrow in the Maritimes. Mid to high 20s. Some parts of New Brunswick getting up into the low 30s. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Nope, I'll take it. I'll take it, Kaylin. See you tomorrow. Coming up here tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, when a house is not a home. Murphy's Logic looks at what to do with 24 Sussex Drive, the PM's residence, and who should pay for the hefty reno price tag. Steve has some thoughts on that tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And finally tonight, a big league outfielder turned a routine fly ball into a home run last night by using his head. This fly ball from the Colorado Rockies' TJ Rumfield looks to be fairly routine, but suddenly it bounces off the head of Angels' Joe Adele and then bounces above the wall. Yes, that is a home run. Talk about adding insult to injury. That made it back-to-back homers for the Rockies. Colorado ended up winning the game 8-2. Oh, boy. That'll make the blooper reel. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is in at 11:30, and the web and the app has updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you right back here tomorrow night at 6. Till then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.